Yo.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. So just with regards to the schedule today, thank you for joining us tonight. As always, we tend to have a jam-packed evening. We're going to start off with the news roundup that's going to be presented by Jem, Jackson, and Christian. Afterwards, we're going to have a talk with regards to research from the Center of Mobile Innovation. Correct me if I'm wrong, CMI. And then we'll take a break. And in the later half of the segment tonight, we'll have a talk by Taz, who is task manager within the Discord group. And he's going to be talking about job seekers in InfoSec. But before we get started today, just remind everyone that today is Remembrance Day. It's a day where we attempt to show our gratitude to individuals of service and families for the sacrifices that they made for our country. Because of them, Canadians are able to live, work, study, and grow under the principles of freedom, peace, and democracy. Principles that at times we take for granted, but which we all hope shall continue and continue to improve upon for the indefinite future. Due to their bravery and heroism, we are so privileged to live in the absence of much of the turmoil that plagues the world and many areas of the modern society. And for this, we remember, we appreciate, and we thank them. So let's all observe a minute of silence. Thank you. So next up, what we'll be having is our news roundup presented by Jem, Jackson, and Christian. So take it away, guys.
Thank you for that, Nash. Cool. This news is actually this is new. I actually just added a new story today, and luckily, or I guess how you look at it, unluckily, this story just came out I think yesterday, and yeah. So multiple health networks were taken down in Newfoundland. The attack was first detected on October 30th, and right now, the provincial government has confirmed that personal information, along with personal health information of individuals, has been accessed, and not just accessed, but 14 years worth of information on current as well as former Eastern Health patients. I think Eastern Health is the name of one of the networks or something, as well as former Eastern Health patients have been obtained by the hackers. This information includes names, addresses, healthcare numbers, or sorry, healthcare visits, the reasons for those visits, their family doctor, as well as their birth date. Um, and that's just for customers. Also, employee information has been stolen, and this includes names, addresses, contact info, and possibly most importantly, social security numbers. Huge hack. Right now, there have officially been no suspects that have been announced, and there's been no confirmations as to whether this is a ransomware attack or what kind of an attack. But outside experts are saying it has all the signs of one. Other experts are saying that this is a national security issue and it should be treated as such by federal agencies. The attack has caused thousands of medical appointments to be canceled so far, including chemotherapy patient appointments. Mark Sangster, who's the vice president of industry security strategy at eCentire, in Waterloo, actually, he said that there's reason to believe that the Conti gang is behind this. The Conti gang has hit 5 businesses and organizations in Canada since October 8th, and they have a history of going after health industry targets. So Yeah. Oh, he also said that due to the recent measures taken in the United States towards cyber attacks with Joe Biden's, recent sweep or whatever, all the different things that he's changing to counteract cyber attacks, especially after the pipeline attack. He's saying that attackers are expected to move north of the border for a while, so looks like we're gonna have our hands full for a bit.
Um, so here's one I thought was kind of interesting with just something that you wouldn't think of. But so recently, the FBI and the Security and Infrastructure Security Agency issued a joint warning about security as the holiday season approaches. So it's been found that, and I thought this actually made a lot of sense, is that attackers are more likely to deploy attacks such as ransomware when there's a less chance of people being on the job to notice an act. So basically, the idea is that if, like, let's say it's like Thanksgiving weekend or it's Christmas or even something like Mother's Day, um, the idea is that if you attack them, the people who are looking for it, there might not be as many. And even if they do find it, the people who are then called in to deal with it might be farther away or busy. So, for example, if you do it on Christmas, let's say, and everyone has Christmas off, no one's going to notice that the attack. Because a lot of these attacks get like more entrenched and more dangerous as time goes on. So the quicker you find it, the quicker you can resolve it and the less damage it'll do. So even if they're able to delay like finding it by like a few hours or a day, like that could be the difference between getting the attack resolved easily or not. Yeah, and so the people might be away or unavailable. Like let's say they're at the Christmas dinner and then they get a call like you have to come, there's an attack. Or someone goes away on a holiday. Or is going to see family. Then they might be away, they can't get back, and there's a bit more chaos there. Or they're missing a component. It was also found, like, just in general, that weekends are especially popular for ransomware deployment. Which I guess is because, like, there might not be as much work happening then. People might have weekends off. And yeah. So security is like 24/7 kind of thing. Like, it never takes a day off. And they also push that no one is safe from ransomware. And for every huge, like, newsworthy attack, like the pipeline, there are dozens of attacks hitting small businesses.
Thank you, Jackson. Especially since you mentioned attacks on small businesses, here is also a problem that is a plague among small businesses, which is DDoS attacks. So pretty much with this article, a new DDoS report for Q3 of 2021 that was published by Kaspersky has revealed some interesting findings regarding the volumes of attacks committed along with two new DDoS attack vectors. The report noted that there was a considerable rise on the number of daily DDoS attacks starting from mid-July onwards. The attacks reached a point where there was well over 1,000 attacks each day. One notable day in particular was August 18th, where there was 8,825 recorded DDoS attacks. The reason why these attacks have become so popular is believed due to their effectiveness at intimidation and extortion. As DDoS attacks are meant to deny service, they can pose a considerable threat for any business or service that doesn't have the infrastructure to prevent it. This is especially true for those that are smaller, as Jackson had noted earlier. In recent years, they've also become a valuable asset for disinformation, especially when used to target journalists and news outlets. One thing that the article noted in particular was that the average duration of the attacks had also decreased, with a particular statistic being that most of them last, or at least a lot of them, didn't last as long. For example, the one specific mark that was especially notable was that many of them was a decrease after the 50-hour mark. At the time, it is unclear if the rise in numbers of attack is due to shorter bursts of attacks, so pretty much seeing if maybe there's more attacks just because that they don't last as long, so more of like a burst of attacks. That's still to be decided. As mentioned previously, there are also two new DDoS attack vectors that have been discovered. The first was discovered by the University of Maryland and the University of Colorado Boulder that allowed an attacker to abuse middle box devices, such as firewalls and network access translators, by requesting access to banned resources. By requesting access while presenting itself to be from the victim, so like the victim's network, the middle box may send a request that may be considerably sized. In fact, these responses are so large that they were recorded to have an amplification factor of up to 51,000. As this requires a significant amount of resources to process, this overloads these devices to the point that availability is severely compromised. The second attack vector, Black Storm, was discovered and named by Nexus Guard that affects CSP, also known as Communication Service Provider networks. By sending requests that appear to be a device on the victim's network, these requests are meant to reach a closed port as the receiving devices are made to send a message letting the requester know that the port or service is unavailable. Obviously, this takes resources to process, and eventually, if it's done enough, this can potentially take down anything from servers to even entire networks.
Damn, that sounds terrifying. Almost 9,000 attacks in one day, eh? Jeez. Cool. So there's a location data firm named Huck that has been harvesting GPS data from people who have actively opted out. Huck was seemingly not even aware that this was going on when he got contacted by Motherboard. The problem was initially found by someone named Joel Reardon, who's an assistant professor at University of Calgary, and they're the forensics lead and co-founder of a company called ISSessions, which essentially, tests and audits apps and sees what's going on under the hood. Even though Apple and Google have recently been giving users way more control over which permissions they give to apps, Huck had an app-level data sharing opt-out option that people were ignoring. So assuming you've opted out of this data sharing feature on your actual device, they've included a more hidden one in the app, and that is, it's questionable, right? If someone's already opting out of it on their device, why throw this extra hoop for them to jump through, right? Huck's customers that buy this location data include governments, finance, retail, and real estate. They're able to collect this data by paying developers to include their SDK in their apps, which, if you don't know what an SDK is, I think it's a software development kit. That's what it stands for, and it's a bunch of code that, in this case, people put into their apps that they're developing, and it transfers the location data that's harvested by the app directly to Huck. Motherboard and Reardon, the research professor that I was just talking about, they both confirmed that after downloading one app called Network Signal Info, which contained the Huck SDK, opting out of data sharing with third parties did nothing to stop the transfer of location data to Huck. The data included precise GPS locations of the phone, timestamps, name of the Wi-Fi that the device was connected to, as well as names of other Wi-Fi networks that were available. Similar findings were reported with another app called QR and barcode scanner as well. Huck has provided conflicting information as to who's responsible for handling this data consent. On their site, they claim that they are solely responsible, but they told Motherboard that it's all up to the app developer who's utilizing the SDK. Besides these independent researchers at Motherboard, Google is also currently investigating the reports as well. So, scary stuff.
Yeah, that is really scary. You'd think that when you opt out of it, you'd really opt out of it, right?
Totally.
Okay, so this one's kind of interesting if anyone's interested in the PS5 at all. So the hacking group Fail Overflow announced on Sunday evening that they had obtained the encryption root keys for the PlayStation 5. So you might say, what are the encryption root keys? So basically, and why is it important? So basically, having these is the first step to unlocking a system to run homemade software. So if you wanted to make your own game for the PS5, make your own software, change an existing game, you would need these keys to be able to basically make the PS5 recognize your program or game or whatever as authentic. So the group released images of the PS5's decrypted firmware files, including the secure loader, which would make sure that everything is secure, that everything is actually like a PlayStation game that's going in. And yeah, so the code uses the keys to get the software, or to get the system to recognize software as legitimate. But it was later received that they were actually missing part of it. There were missing asymmetric keys, which would also be needed to authenticate the software. But the information they found will still be useful for analysis of PS5 system software and finding other exploits to execute unsigned code. So basically, it's kind of the idea that you're putting in code that wasn't created as a PS5 game that was like allowed, kind of. It could be you're creating your own game, like homebrew. Like there's kind of a community about that, or it could be something kind of more malicious. There are a lot of different ways, but they haven't found it yet.
Actually, so since you mentioned that article, Jackson, I back in the day, I may or may not have done a little bit of homebrew stuff with my 3DS, but with homebrew, like since you mentioned that one specifically, I know that's pretty big when it comes to both modding games, and also I know it's also big for pirating games, and as you said, even like custom versions of games, whether it's a completely new one or not. But I know that's extremely popular, so I'm sure we're gonna see a massive increase in the amount of
Yeah,
modding that's going for
I
PlayStation 5.
I find it kind of interesting how like first step for all this stuff is like basically trying to figure out how to break the secure boot, like to be able to make your own games. How like they just kind of go on to do this right away.
Yeah, and to kind of stay away a little bit from, I mean, like it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens in the next coming months for the modding community with the PlayStation 5. But in other news, a new remote code execution vulnerability has been discovered with the Linux kernel's TIPC module. For those who are unaware of what TIPC, also known as Transparent Interprocess Communication, is, it's an alternative protocol to TCP that is typically used in dynamic cluster environments. As TIPC is more efficient and fault tolerant in these environments, it tends to see a lot of use when it comes to anywhere, pretty much networks or environments where a lot of scaling may be required, or where you need need things to be a little bit more dynamic. In fact, this vulnerability specifically is so serious. It's been rated a 9.8, something that indicates an extremely critical vulnerability occurs due to a lack of checks in the key length portion of the TIPC packets. While TIPC has checks after decryption to ensure message sizes don't exceed a certain length, the fact that the key length portion doesn't is what allows this vulnerability to work. Typically, by crafting a smaller packet to set heap memory, a potential attacker will then set key length size that would allow them to write beyond the boundaries, allowing for a heap overflow. In addition to this, the attack can be performed both locally and remotely, making it considerably dangerous and, opens up the threat scope. Fortunately, though, there has been no recorded real-world attacks as of this article's written date, which was November 4th. In addition to this, a working patch has also been released on October 31st for Linux kernel version 5.15 and beyond. As a result, it's highly recommended that any vulnerable Linux kernel versions should be updated as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Christian. So Europol has detained 12 members of a hacking group linked to 1,800 ransomware attacks across 71 countries. These members were detained in Ukraine and Switzerland. The attackers were responsible for compromising various IT networks by using brute force attacks, SQL injections, stolen credentials, and phishing campaigns. Upon breaching, the group would spend months probing for weaknesses and moving laterally across the network. They're known for deploying malware like TrickBot or using post-exploitation tools like Cobalt Strike, and PowerShell Empire to stay undetected and gain further access. Some of the ransomware families that they've used include what's it called? Locker Goga, right? Yeah, Locker Goga, Megacortex, and Dharma. Most famously, this group is linked to the 2019 ransomware attack on Norsk Hydro, which is it's a major aluminum processor in Norway. And this attack caused factories across 2 continents to stop production for nearly a week. Europol said that this arrest was made possible by law enforcement coming together from Norway, France, UK, Switzerland, Germany, Ukraine, and the Netherlands, and they were able to orchestrate this investigation, which ultimately led to these arrests. So big time takedown.
Okay, so here's a bit of a kind of a political one, like international politics kind of thing. So Taiwan's cybersecurity department director announced that the government infrastructure receives 5 million attacks and scans a day. That's a lot. He also said that they are working to strengthen their defenses and to analyze data from these attacks to better prepare. And they believe that many of these attacks originate from China due to motivated by political and historical reasons. The department handled about 1.4 billion anomalies from 2019 to August 2021. It was also found that that specifically Chinese hackers, gained access to 6,000 email accounts belonging to government officials from, I believe they said, 10 different departments. And so they believe this is all part of a more prolonged cyber espionage campaign, and have linked the Chinese cyber espionage groups Black Tech and Thakkar to these attacks. And so this is a new form of pressure China is using. Historically, they've used some military pressure, like they've done military exercises right around Taiwan, and then also diplomatic and economic pressures. So I thought this was kind of cool because it's like we've all heard about like cyber warfare and stuff like that, but this is kind of like cyber politics. Like they're using this to kind of pressure Taiwan to like kind of trying to figure out the word, to try to like, I swear I have it on the tip of my tongue, like to try to make them kind of relent to them a little bit, like not resist as much. Like it's just kind of another avenue of attack and pressure.
Yeah, 1.4 billion anomalies, 6,000 compromised email accounts from 10 different departments. That's kind of, those are scary numbers and some scary statistics. So hopefully there wasn't anything too valuable that was found in that. But obviously 6,000 emails, 10 different departments. I'm sure, unfortunately, that they've found some useful information. Hopefully things end up better soon. But as Jen mentioned earlier, where there are unfortunately also more attacks that have been impacting Canadian industries. And this is especially true with the Toronto Transit Commission, better known as the TTC, has recently been a victim of a ransomware attack which was first detected on October 28th. This attack was so damaging to the point that several TTC systems were brought down, including the Vision system, which, for those who don't know what the Vision system is, allows for communications between vehicle operators. Most services or systems that impacted customers were brought back within 4 days' time, fortunately. The TTC CEO has gone on record to say that the attackers have belonged to, on quote, an extremely well organized enterprise. However, no specific group or attackers have been named at the moment, but I'm sure we will hear something pretty soon. While investigations are still ongoing, one of the newer, most alarming findings was that 25,000 employees, not just their current employees, but their past employees as well, may have had their data compromised. This data contains some extremely important information, especially when you put them together, which is their names, addresses, and social insurance numbers being the most important one of them all. While they stated that there has been no evidence that any of the data has been misused, I think it's also extremely important to note that this attack is really recent. As compensation, they've offered employees who've been impacted 3 years of free credit protection, but I don't think that's enough. I think it needs to be a lot more than that. And in addition to this, investigations are still in place to discover if both vendor and customer data has been victim to the attack. The TTC has promised more transparency as they find more details. However, some of the things that they have been kept quiet on at the moment include as if the TTC has paid any ransom to these attackers. As this is still a developing story, we'll likely find out the true scale of this attack, including what other assets or data may have been compromised.
Awesome. Thank you guys. As always, great work. So next up, we wanted to introduce the Sheridan students to the Center of Mobile Innovation. And we have Panth, who is currently a student that attend Sheridan College, and he is involved in a research project through the CMI. So Panth will talk to you about the CMI as well as his experience doing research for them. Go ahead, Panth.
Sure. Let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? What about now? Hello.
Looks so good.
Yep, we see it.
Yeah, we
Okay.
see it.
From
Hello.
Jack's point of view, it's like off-centered.
Give us one moment.
What do you mean by off-centered?
It's not on your stream, it's on Jack's restream. Just give us a moment.
Yeah.
So should I
Okay.
start? Or...
That looks good now.
Okay. So I'm basically my name is Panth. I'm a third year ISS student. I'm here to basically talk about the Center for Mobile Innovation and the current project I'm working on, which is the Android Lifecycle project. So who am I? Again, I'm a third year ISS student. I did spend 2 years at the University of Guelph for CS, but hated the program there, so I left. I also was a developer at an electronic health records company called Vital Hub. And if you want to connect later, I have my LinkedIn on here. So what is the Center for Mobile Innovation? It's essentially broken down into 4 different research areas: IoT, mobile wearable technology, and machine learning related research. The physical lab itself is on the 4th floor of the Escape building on the Trafalgar campus. Again, if you wanted to check out the website, it was here, but I forgot to, I guess, highlight it. So I'm going to talk a bit about why we need industry partners. You basically get access to proprietary software. And by the way, every project has industry partners. You get access to proprietary software, meaning we as research assistants don't have to develop it ourselves. It saves time, and ideally, it's not the purpose of the research goals at the end of the day. Oftentimes, we as students will get interviews for entry-level jobs and co-ops at the industry partner, and the general knowledge of the technology will increase for everyone. And a lot of the times, it will impact the company's portfolio, product portfolio, to have these projects and research. So I'm going to talk a bit about the sponsors for the Android Lifecycle project. So essentially what they are is, the company itself is called SOTI Inc. They have an office in Mississauga and Montreal, I believe. And essentially what they do is they're an IoT management service provider. So they take care of things like security on Android phones and at their IoT devices. Again, their LinkedIn can be found here. So why is the CMI important for us as security professionals? And now more than ever, we're using IoT devices, anything from drones to smartphones to smart home applications like Nest or smart fridges or things along those lines. And you hear on the news every so often that an IoT device has a data leak or it was broken into or something like that, and we need to make sure that they're secure if they're going to go into our homes. And oftentimes, the research isn't done properly, and it causes problems later down the line. So what is it actually like working for a lab? You get to create your own schedule. Almost on a weekly basis, you have meetings with your professor or the project lead, and then you have less frequent meetings with the industry partners. For the Android Lifecycle project, it's every 2 weeks. So depending on the industry partner, it'll be every couple of weeks or on a monthly basis. The meetings with the industry partners talk about what you've done over since the last meeting and what your goals are for the next meeting. If it's the first meeting of the term, then you'll talk about what your goals are for the term. If it's the last meeting for the term, then you'll talk about where you came from and how you did on the goals you set at the beginning of the term. So why work for CMI as an ISS student? A lot of the research themselves have security aspects. There's a sort of stigmatism that the lab is specifically for mobile computing degree students. That's not the case. A lot of the times you get exposure to the industry, as well as you build a relationship with the employees at the industry partner. It is useful for second year students and above. Um, if you're a first year student, I don't think you have the knowledge to be helpful. I'm not trying to like roast first years or anything, but I think you don't have as much exposure to the industry. And if you're fourth year, a lot of the times you will get an entry level job at the industry partner. So this slide moving forward, I'm going to talk about the Android Lifecycle project. So it's essentially broken up into two different teams. You have the physical security and the network security team. The physical security team researches what happens when the Android phone falls or takes damage. And a lot of the times you can check the hardware through software. With the network security team, you research into essentially what an intrusion detection system and create machine learning algorithms to detect if a packet is malicious or not. So with the physical security team, every Android phone has internal hardware that you can check. Ideally, you're not going to open up the phone to check every time. So what you can do is, from a software perspective, test the hardware. And then the other thing that the team is doing is researching into if you can detect what type of fall it was. So a lot of the times, if it has spin on it, you can check the gyroscope. You can check the hardware temperatures through the thermostat. You can check the G's or the speed at impact through the accelerometer, and you can check things like the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, things like that through the network interface card or the NIC. So the research, I'm a part of the network security team. So what I essentially do is research into how we can detect packets. if you've worked with Wireshark before, there's nothing like that on Android phones. So because of our industry partners in SOTI, they've provided a Wireshark-esque application through Samsung Knox. Samsung Knox is basically a security platform specific to Samsung phones. So every one of my coworkers in the team and I were given Samsung phones to test on, and we essentially use machine learning to classify the packets that the SOTI's application generates. So essentially, why should we do Android research in the first place? Android 11 came with a bunch of new features, and no one is essentially doing research on them because of the fact that Android is a large operating system and has many users. The source code is also available to attackers, which again poses security holes and problems. And since there's not much research done in the space, no one is actually doing any research in intrusion detection systems for Android specifically. So a lot of it is actually implementing the ideas. So my team and I are working on implementing it now. And due to the fact that there's consistent changes with Android 12 is coming out soon, so which will bring again a new set of challenges. There's a constant need to secure the operating system, and due to the fact that the operating system has a lot of hardware configurations, since there's a lot of phone manufacturers that use Android, for example, like Samsung, LG, what have you, there's a lot of configuration problems and configuration security holes. So I'm going to talk a bit about why we should do research from a mobile perspective, IoT perspective. There are three things to consider. There are hardware constraints, meaning the hardware itself is small and has limited resources. So we need to do research on how different combinations of hardware work and what happens when the hardware gets physically damaged. I'm pretty sure all of you have dropped your phone, for example, and we need to do research on what happens to the hardware when we drop it. There are also software constraints, so writing efficient code is always important. If we compare for example, RAM from your phone to your laptop laptop has a significantly more power than your smartphone, and we need to write efficient code so that we don't use many of the system resources. What does my average shift look like? A lot of it, I go through articles on Google Scholar or shared in database. A lot of the times I have to develop industry partner specific tasks. So like, for example, I had to build a web app with Angular and React and something called Highcharts of JavaScript. Since we have meetings with our sponsors every 2 weeks, we have to create presentations about what we did. And since the network security team is developing a machine learning algorithm, we have to collect massive amounts of data. So a lot of the research methods I do use are checking the Google Scholar and shared scholarly article databases about once a month. A lot of it is documentation, reading and understanding what happens, and understanding what they did and are doing. So the data we do collect is both quantitative and qualitative. So the qualitative being process names, and the quantitative being start and end time since epoch. Epoch is just a term used to define a date. The date would be January 1st, 1970. And most of the data that we do collect is through experimental procedures. So what we do is we go on websites, we go on different apps to see what data they generate. Most of the time, that data will be benign. So what we're doing now is purposely going on malicious websites and things like that. So currently the project is at a state where we test everything statically or on the server side. The goal would be to detect it in real time. We're doing it statically right now to see what algorithm works best and to see if we should create our own if need be. So what courses are useful for my work? First year theory courses being systems loss prevention and risk management. Data structures and algorithms is always important, no matter what you do. And all of the network courses that you do throughout the program are always important. Why should you believe me in the first place? I've been working with this project since January. The job itself is on a contract basis, meaning your contract starts at the first day of the term and finishes at the last day of the term. So if my boss or the industry partners don't like what I'm doing, I won't be rehired. And seeing as how it's my third term with this project, there's some evidence to suggest that the people I work for actually like me. In addition, there's always co-op opportunities with CMI. So if that's something of interest to you, you should apply. Where do I actually find these jobs? One of the ways is to go onto Sheridan Works and then filter the jobs by Sheridan College. And that image provided is an example of what happens when you do search Sheridan College. As you can see, one of the jobs is mobile app design and development with the CMI. The other two positions are with other research centers. So there is only one current job posting, which again in the image provided last slide was the mobile app design and development with the industry partners of Think Research. The project itself focuses on building web and mobile applications for healthcare, and the project lead's name is Janelle Chen. If you're interested in that, you probably should email her, or you can just look on the link provided and test it there and see what other positions are open. Again, the job postings get updated once a term, so if you are interested for next term, maybe start looking during the winter break. How you should apply is essentially three ways. You can email the program lead. Like in the last example, if you emailed Janelle Chen, and that's a more of an unprofessional way of applying. Or you can go on Shared Works, like in 2 slides before, and apply through there. Or you can email CMI at sharedoncollege.ca. The email should contain the job title and industry partner, and then the body should contain your name, semester of your program, and your student number, and then have attachments of your cover letter, resume, and transcript. No matter what you do, make sure you have your cover letter, resume, and transcript submitted. And then, yeah, it's basically it.
Awesome. Thank you, Panth. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Do you have a couple minutes to answer questions if anybody has, Panth?
Yeah, sure.
So feel free to post your questions and stream questions if everybody has. In the meantime, I do have just a quick question for you. Sort of what drew you to research, I guess, and more specifically, why did you sort of land or how did you land with the Android Lifecycle project?
So I was currently applying for co-ops since it was my second year, and seeing as how I didn't have much experience, I was just grasping at straws, I guess, if you want to say that, and I ended up here, I guess.
Okay, so I guess it was an avenue that you used an opportunity in.
Yeah, essentially. I didn't really have much experience at the time, so uh, the professor, I guess, took a stab in the dark and hired me.
Nice.
And seeing as how the project itself is security related, I guess he wanted someone from our degree um, to help out with the security side of it.
Mhm.
So, yep.
Did you specifically apply to the Android Lifeside project, or was that sort of the only one that was available at the time?
I applied to a bunch. This was the only one I liked because it was security related and the Trafalgar campus. There, there are a lot with the manufacturing department, but again, that's at the Davis campus, which is really far from for me, and it sort of, I guess, doesn't align with what I want to do.
Interesting, cool. Well, thank you for that. I don't see any questions coming through, so what we'll do is let's take a 10-minute break. So we'll come back at 8:02. In between that, I believe Jill, if you can post the CCR a form, and we'll show you the CCR key on the slide. So 8:02. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully, you got a slice of that pizza you ordered about an hour ago. So next up, we have our talk on job seeking in InfoSec that's going to be delivered by Taz, or otherwise known as Task Manager in the Discord channel. Taz graduated from Sheridan College's ISS program back in 2018, and he's currently a senior consultant in EY Managed Detection and Response. His main focus is to build the threat hunting and detection engineering capability of the team and try to catch and stop advanced attackers targeting EY's clients. He enjoys sharing his research and knowledge and has presented in numerous international security conferences such as DEF CON, and SAN Summit, and most recently Sector. So for any of you who joined that, you would have had the opportunity to listen to his talk. As I said before, tonight he'll be giving us some advice on job seeking in the InfoSec industry, and we are delighted to have him. So without further ado, take it away, Taz.
All right, let me share my screen real quick. Thank you, Akim, for the introduction.
No
Uh,
problem.
yeah, so I think it's good to go. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to this. I would say it's more like a sharing session from what I learned in the past years in the job seeking and in the, like InfoSec particularly. Um, So yeah, so I'm task manager on Twitter, on Discord channel also, or if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll have the link later. So yeah, let's start right now. Just small disclaimer, just to protect myself. Opinions are my own and not the views of my employer. This material it's not in any sense ultimate guide. So feel free to combine it with whatever you have, your information that you learn from other places. Use this with your caution, please. So yeah, so there will be just go hopefully in a good like pace to different story of like for particularly for job seeking. I'm gonna talk about like what is job exactly, like what are the normal step I do normally or like people around me do normally during job hunt and interview. I think there's gonna be a lot of interview questions in the like the what do you call it, like career advice channel. So it's always good to I think it's to dump everything here, and then if there's additional question we can continue the conversation, because like a lot of I think that the third year students is coming for their co-op like pretty soon. So yeah, let's start with some introduction. I'm just gonna talk about myself a little bit, my background, and then we'll take some lessons that I didn't really do well when I'm in co-op, and hopefully you don't make it as a co-op student, or maybe even in the later stage of your career. So as Haki mentioned, I'm senior consultant in the Big Four, particularly EY Canada. I've been doing InfoSec for like around 4 years. I'm alumni, also graduated back in 2018 from this from the same program. Um, my career consists of like most of the time it's blue team, but I do quite a lot of purple teaming, emulation, simulation, adversary. So pretty much using the same tools with pen tester red teamers do, but not in the sense in the red teaming activity. So yeah, so I did some, like all-around security in the health tech. I did some application security, like more like vulnerability management also on the insurance company. Threat hunting for one of the major telco in Canada. So this is where I actually launched my career. I met a lot of great people, learned from different people from like conferences, communities, open source projects, and I had a great mentor there. So I think that's one thing that I'm really grateful for this particular experience. And right now I am consultant for managed detection and response. My title, it's officially they changed it to specialist detection engineering. So that's technically what I'm doing, which is building the capability of detection engineering. So utilizing whatever logs that we have talking cloud, host-based Sysmon, Defender, all those antivirus the clients have, networking devices, IDS, IPS, firewall, everything. So it's just building detection on top of that, and then making, correlate all the information together, present it to the SOC, to the analyst. So yeah, for them to do some, like investigation, and if there's any escalation, they will reach out to us. Just to put my hobby, because I think it's important to have hobby in this industry. It's really taxing. So yeah, so make sure you have hobby. So some of my hobby, like I like to do photography, astrophotography. I have some drones to take like some drone shot. I like cooking. I love go to festival and concert, and not so much in the last few years, but hopefully it's coming back soon. And I love memes. If you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see I actually have more skills in memes, like on and the referral thing, compared to like matter attack or some of the other infosec related stuff. So that's my hobby. So the question that you might want to ask, like, how hard can it be actually to find the first infosec job if you're like new to the program, if you're going for your first co-op in the infosec? Well, based on my experience, it is pretty hard. So some background story. So I'm coming from a country called Indonesia on the eastern side of the world, and I moved to this country, Canada, with the promise of you will learn, like you will learn about information security, you will get job easily, which is true, but it was really hard to get it because I have a lot of disadvantages. English is not my first language. It's never will be my first language ever. We got people with some experience. We got people who's already mature. I'm fresh from high school, so it was pretty hard. But I think it's just a mix of luck that my first co-op job, it's actually I'm not even the choice. I'm not even the first choice. I get the job because there's a second opening. I'm technically number two, and there's second job post open, and yeah, and that's pretty much how I get the job. Uh, but after that, I learned so much. The second job was really easy to get. It's one interview, and then I get a job. Same thing with the third job, the fourth job. It's pretty pretty good. So I think the momentum here to get the first one, and then from there uh, it should be easier for like everyone, I hope. So yeah, so the things that I didn't really do well during that first co-op, like application, I doesn't really know what I want. Like I don't know what I want. Uh, in terms of like offensive, defensive, I just say like whatever. I'll take whatever that I can take. Uh, because I don't know what roles there are there, like what companies doing what kind of stuff. So the goal of this presentation is to let you know those information ahead of time. I delay job application sometimes because I miss information job session. For example, thing like CSE, Deloitte, they come to the school, they present, like, oh, we have this position, blah blah blah, and I miss some of that. Some of my friend got it, so pay attention to those dates, pay attention to announcements, emails, even like the channel itself. Sometimes one of my interview actually over presenting my skills, particularly in Linux. So they actually hammer me with a lot of Linux question, and I'm like sitting there feeling like I want to go home. Yeah, and then other than that, like you want to do more outside of school. You do research, you do project, you go to meetup. Some people that goes to meetup, they actually get the job without even going to technically to an interview. So it's like formality interview. They already get the job because they know the people. They, like those people that hiring them, they see what they're doing. On the meetup, they show their knowledge. So it's pretty much enough for them. I don't have LinkedIn, blog, GitHub, and then lastly, some people say GPA doesn't matter, but if the hiring manager faced with two equally people and then one of them is 4.0, the other one is, I don't know, like, let's put my GPA 3.6 or something, they'll probably pick the 4.0 because there's a reason the person get higher mark. So try your best at school, even though GPA never really matters after that, but maybe for the first one, it quite matters. Yeah, so I'm just gonna explain from my perspective what is job exactly, right? For me, job or your dream job or your perfect job it's a position which you need to know what type of position, what are the job description in a company that you like, based on whatever factors, uh, whatever type of that company. But you need to have a company, and it will be yourself in there. So how do you sell yourself? Like you have to know skills to learn. You have to learn those skills, and of course you have to put it in a resume, and then you put yourself out there, sometimes doing things like different from other people. um, so if you haven't seen this chart, well, now you see it. And this is a great chart to show like how complicated, how like a lot of variance in cybersecurity. People say IT is a big field. Well, it is, because like InfoSec is under that, but still, even InfoSec is a large, like a like pretty comprehensive domain. So yeah, so I'm just gonna walk through some of the positions that you will see that I have seen in the past few years. We'll start with the offensive security. So the first one will be the offensive operation. So the one on the top left. So we get the classic penetration tester kind of job. So you break into stuff. Could be physical, could be mobile, could be web application, and then you prepare report. But on top of that, there's more like more there's a role that is more offer like more freedom. So you can do phishing, you can do whatever you want. So technically you just try to break so many security boundaries as much as you can do, which is kind of like red team operation. Yeah, and then from there you prepare report. Sometimes you work together with the blue team, and then it become the purple teaming exercise. And then one other different offensive operation that you normally see, it's bug bounty hunter. So these are people, if you know the companies like HackerOne, or like I forget the other one, but there's another one like CNAC. So they're less. You're not really assigned to a particular company doing a pen test operation for them, but you're competing against other people. There's like a leaderboard, and then you get like a contract job kind of, and you just scope the contracts. For example, for one particular company, you try to do like discovery and evaluation under their asset, and then you try to find more and more, like bugs or any like vulnerability, and then you report them. Sometimes other people report it first, and then you don't get any money. We get also VM, vulnerability management. So this is more like the old school, using a scanner kind of thing, Qualys, Nessus, and then you run that tool, and then you get the report, and then you help the company to improve their vulnerability. So you kind of manage them. Okay, we need to patch it with that. We need to install maybe a firewall to block traffic to that particular like vulnerable host. Slightly blue, but most of the time this will be a red team, because a lot of consulting firm offering this vulnerability services. Purple teaming, this particular role, it's been like getting hype quite a lot in the last few years. It's especially the adversarial simulation and attack assessment. So this is taking what attacker do in real world. So for example, we did mention some APTs back then on the news section, and then we'll take their craft, their techniques. So for example, they use phishing, and then in that phishing, what they're using maybe a malicious HTML attachment, and then when you open the HTML, it open the Chrome browser, it launch the JavaScript, and then you do whatever. So they try to simulate the adversary, which is, I think it's really good exercise. Red team, it's really complicated. Sometimes they bypass EDR. Not all like not legitimate, like malicious attackers do that complexity. If the phishing works and it get them inside, why would they change it, right? Which is, I would say, pretty high percentage of the attack these days are using phishing. So maybe that's something that the company need to improve. And then attack assessment, rather than using the adversary model, they're using the MITRE ATT&CK, which is like the framework for all known TTPs that have been observed in the recent like environments of the people. And then we get research and development. vulnerability researcher, like companies like Trend Micro. They do have their own kind of like CTF. They spend hundreds of $1,000s for people to find 0 days. They time it. It's really cool. It's really hard. I think Trend Micro actually does internship or like co-op for this position. So this is definitely a great start if anyone want to do that. Exploit researcher. So this is more like building C2. So like how do you connect once you get inside? How do you stealthy connect to your like the attacker server to pull information, to throw commands, etc. And then sometimes they've just been called like security research engineer, even just simple as security researcher. So these are some of the position. Maybe you go to LinkedIn, you type security researcher. It could be blue team side, it could be this position. So yeah, this is just title that you can use for like looking around for jobs. And then we go to the defensive side. Monitoring, it's your standard, like blue team. Monitor your SIEM, monitoring alerts, SOC analyst, triage analyst. I'm seeing some job openings from, I think, the Arctic Wolf. Yeah, it's like one of the company. It's pretty, I would say, medium MSSP. So they're getting a lot of traction these days. So if you want to check that out as a co-op, I think that's a great opportunity. We get threat intelligence. This all the cool stuff following threat actors, knowing their TTPs, tactic, and procedures. Pretty much how someone do their malicious stuff. And then, of course, there's a position sometimes being called security researcher. So this security researcher is kind of capturing a lot of positions, like in whatever side of InfoSec. Detection and response, really hot topic these days. Really a lot of hiring in this position. Not always entry level, but sometimes they do have like a call position for this. So pay attention to that. Threat hunter, like like Bell Canada do that a lot. Like we get in my own company, we get several positions for that. Deloitte, I know there's a majority of MSSP. They do have threat hunter. So what they do, they build similar to content development. So they build detection content, which is kind of the job of detection engineer. But threat hunter more like building the hypothesis. So what if the attacker used this to achieve that, and then detection engineer will take it. Okay, if you think about that, we can use, for example, Sysmon to detect that, and then maybe on the network side we can do this. Sometimes the position is combined, so it depends on your like the job description. So make sure you pay attention to that. And then we get this kind of specific, like a really specific engineer's position, like SIM and SOAR. So SIM is like appliances that will collect all the logs, and you can do aggregation, you can do alerting, and SOAR, it's extension of that. So you can do more active action. So you can block files, you can actually go and then stop the process, kill the process, etc. And we get maybe not that many position, but it's a signature developer. So this is like if you're talking about Yara, if you're familiar with Yara, which is like a malware signature. I think you heard of course, Snore for the IDS IPS. So there's some position about that. And then we get when everything, all the defense get like broken, you get the DFIR that will try to figure the piece. So like when someone get ransomware, they'll hire DFIR people. They'll look into whatever they have, the logs, the security analytics. Then they decide, they conclude why this happened. How did it get in? Is it from phishing? Is it from exploitation, etc.? And then sometimes in the MSSP they have incident responders. So when the use cases get triggered and the attack is active. So the difference between DFIR and incident responder sometimes is the attack is active, and then from there they'll do like just quick tracing, like where they get start from. Did we stopped it? And then if we haven't stopped it, we need to block, for example, the C2 IP address. Maybe they have active connection. Maybe we need to shut down the system. We need to isolate it. So yeah, it's definitely required to do that. And then we get some cool position like malware analyst, reverse engineer. Again, this is, I would say, the same equivalent with the one with the vulnerability engineer, because you need to look into the code, understanding how the application works without like looking to the source code, so you can then make up the code. Really prestigious position. often called like security researcher also. But yeah, if you are interested in analyzing malware, reverse engineering different tools, understanding how it goes, so you might want to look for that kind of position. We got AppSec and DevSecOps, so this is more like like combination of engineering, and then development for security. So we get position related to product. So your company is creating an application, and then you need to make sure the application is secure. Maybe you do like code scanning as SAST and DAST. Maybe how to properly do like a SDLC with security integrated with it. Maybe you try to protect the API, so you actually look into like the code one by one. Are they using proper like coding? Are they using obsolete like functions? Is it maybe parameterized? So if you love the code, if you want to make the code secure, these are like the job titles that you might want to look into. We get infrastructure, which is pretty, yeah, these days everything is used as infrastructure. So we get cloud, even like container security, Kubernetes, Dockers. We get platform security if you're using different platform, network security engineer. So like how do you make sure your router is secure? You probably need to log it. So it's pretty much a lot of Linux stuff, but technically not really Linux, because they have like some custom stuff. So it's a small difference that you still need to pay attention to. And then you get specific technologies like DDoS, WAF, firewall, endpoint, antivirus, EDR, UABA, which is like user behavior analytics tools, and then like the operational technology, IoT security. So those are some specialists, I would call it. And lastly, we get GRC. If you don't really like doing a lot of technical, but still want to do security, you can be doing security audit. You can be a security officer to watch over the like policy and like things like privacy, risk management, risk like assessment. uh, every single like consulting company have this position, so it's definitely where the money is. Some people this job say it's easy, but I would say personally say no. You have a lot of experience to be able to understand all of this stuff, because if you just, for example, just pass the SSP and then go for this job, you might not understand as much as when you've done it before. And then we get program manager, so this is whatever project, whatever program that you have and you're managing it. Sometimes you don't have to be that technical, but really good in the management. So maybe having a MBA, or maybe like having certification in the management program, agility, like Scrum Masters. So those positions are really like management related, but still tied to security. So yeah, so those are the position that I've often like reviewed. But these are some great resources. I think you probably know already. Uh, Hacks for Pancakes, Leslie Carhart blogs regarding InfoSec career, and then John, which is Tracky on Discord. He presented almost every year, I think. Wonderful World of Information Security. So this is really good resources. Uh, so yeah, so for starting up, if you want to look for jobs everywhere, you can use this term for entry level, like junior, graduate, like L1, T1, just to combine it with the title that you have before. For the co-op, we get some specific terms. We get co-op, like like internship, apprentice. This is mainly used in the UK. But yeah, I don't know if you want to work in the UK, and maybe sometimes you can use like the semester, like winter, summer, fall, 2022 with your searching. It's just some small tips and tricks. So things to do here: you need to know the position that you want. You need to rank them. Maybe you need to know like what you don't want. You don't want to do red team, so you can focus on the other stuff. You need to talk to people in this position. We get a great community on our own in the Discord. Ask questions. There's a lot of meetup tasks, B-sides. You can join different chat group. Go through the job posting and be familiar with the job description and learn from it. For example, for the blue team, I might need to know about SIM. Like, how can I play with SIM? You go to GitHub. There's a lot of free tools out there. Google it. It's easy. Ask a question in the Discord, of course. And then yeah, you understand the skill set required for the job, and then you match your skill with whatever your dream job is. And we'll talk about the company now. So it's technically just different companies that I observe around GTA or Canada. So you might not see thing some companies here because I haven't really observed them. Uh, so I split the consulting companies into two, like general consulting, which is like old school consulting, like like taxes, auditing, and then we got a security consulting that is focused to MSSP, pen testing, DFIR, so all those kind of stuff. So we got the classic Big Four: EY, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, and then we got like the smaller one, Accenture, MNP. So these people over everything pretty much. GRC, offensive, defensive, like some AppSec even. So yeah, then they actually pay pretty good. I'm not sure for the co-op, but after that, I think they pay pretty good. And we get some more smaller or like not as like famous, I would say, but whatever. Like Afanat, CGI, Grant Thornton, Thomson Reuters, and the list goes on. Security consulting. So Mandiant and CrowdStrike, they uh, they do have a really great blue team or like DFIR people, but they do offer also pen test services. Like Mandiant pen tester is really great, uh, and also their DFIR is really great. We get like small like more consulting firm like BlackBerry. BlackBerry mainly work on the automotive security, so like the smart car, etc. Security Compass really heavy on the AppSec and research, pen testing also. So we get a lot of people going to Security Compass from our school. Analytical security, A2N, and then Lares, which is I would say boutique security. Like even like on the small to medium size, and then we got Lookout, which is specifically interested in mobile security. So yeah, the on the previous presentation there's doing like Android research. Maybe if you want to check Lookout company, I think they're pretty cool. We got Arjafek article of eSynTire, and then I'll take the Cytelligence, Defender, and Sirius also from the bottom because these are MSSP focused on the blue team side, defending, monitoring. And then we got some research heavy group, Go Secure, NCC, Cisco Talos. So these are research group, but they also, of course, they offer monitoring, etc. But yeah, Go Secure have a really great research team, great people. They present it everywhere. Their team based majority in Montreal. And yeah, maybe if you want to move to Montreal, if you want to learn, like research, security research, offensive, defensive, you can definitely, pay attention to their company. We get the in-house and tech vendor. So like all the banks, they hire blue team. Sometimes they even have their red team arms. Of course, GRC is always there for every single one of these. GRC is always there. And then AppSec for like tech vendor for sure. We get all the banks, we get all the telco companies, we got like manufacturing, we get like insurance, we got transportation, we get even gaming company like Ubisoft based in Montreal mainly. We get healthcare technology, Leak, Point Click Care, Life Labs. We get Enbridge for like energy. We get a lot of different group, federal government also, provincial government. But this one I don't really specifically say which one because it's sometimes they hire, sometimes they don't. So you kind of need to pay attention. Mainly from the I don't know like Sheridan Works. I think that's what they call it. It was Sheridan Job Sheridan before. So yeah, pay attention to the job posting. Most of the job will come from there, and it will be easier if you apply from there. But of course, it's a battle against like how many people in your current year. And tech vendor Google, uh, heavily based in Waterloo. They're hiring a lot of security engineers, and when they say security engineers, you have to code. So if you're good at code, If you think you can tackle security problems with code, go ahead. Microsoft, Amazon, including AWS, and I'm gonna take Apple also. They are based in West Coast, multiple position, mainly security engineering. Facebook, I think they hire remote. Same thing with Dropbox and Cisco. And then you get all this vendor, but I want to highlight Elastic. They hire anywhere in the world, and they're a great company. Everyone is using it for the blue team, for the SIEM. It's always good, like a good knowledge to learn. And then, yeah, and Time Micro, of course, they do a lot of cool research on the vulnerability management side. And OpenText, maybe. I think they're hiring more and more. I think more on the application security product side. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check the company. So you have a lot of companies, all those companies. The question is, why would I join that companies? Could be multiple things, and I put it in the 5 different bags here. We get financial, of course, money, moolah, bag, salary, cash, dollar, whatever. We get stock options, RSP contribution, if you wanna, like take care the old days for you. Sometimes bonus. Sometimes you just wanna have a good extra money to buy, I don't know, like new PC, new car parts. Sometimes the companies make it really complicated to calculate it. So is it something that you want to do, right? You get things like benefit, healthcare, dental, fitness, mental health. Do they cover family dependent? So you might want to think about that also. And then I think for me, it's right now, it's the most important thing is flexibility. Can I work from home? Can I literally work from anywhere in the world? Because sometimes you cannot legally work outside of your home country because you probably do some tax evasion on that particular country. So that's something that you want to pay attention, uh, especially if you work for a consulting firm like the Big Four. Can you work at any time, or do I have to stay from 5 to 9? Sorry, from 9 to 5, or like, is it flexible from maybe like 8 to like 6 p.m.? What about the management? Are they watching every single move of me? Do I have to tell them I'm going to go to washroom at this time and I'll be back? Blah blah blah. And then you want to learn about the people and the culture. Do they have the same vision and goals as you? Can you contribute to community? Sometimes it's prohibited to like contribute if you are in the old school kind of company. Sometimes they have a public figure, for example, malware unicorn at Facebook, hacks for pancakes at Dragos for the IoT security. Maybe you want to join them because I know this person and I believe this person is doing really great because the company enabled them to do so. And then yeah, you get the tight knit group, you get team activities that you do together, and lastly, it's the growth. Like, can you grow in this position, or are you just gonna be stuck there? So do they have training? They allow you take a time off for training? Can you go conference CTF, like being paid by the company? What about, like non-infosec training, presentation skills, like writing skills, communication skills, and do they have mentorship program? This is something that you might want to look into because you have to grow in this industry. You have to learn more. It's just things that you need to do, unfortunately. But it's good. It's like it's challenging you every single time, and I think it's good for for yourself. So things to do here: learn about the company, understand the culture of the company, and then reason with yourself why I like this company, right? And then you can talk to people. It's a free world. You can just say send a connection in LinkedIn. You can talk to people in multiple chat group. There's like Trusted Sec for like defense side of Bloodhound Gang, which is like Spectre Ops, offensive security people, and then you can go to Meetup, talk to people from like from banks, talk to people from consulting firm, and ask about the role, ask about their position, and then you can even interact with the recruiter on the LinkedIn. Just talk, hey, do you have any open position? This is my skill set, because it's not you all the time that needs the recruiter, like connection. Like after several years in InfoSec, I got reached by a lot of recruiter, and like some of them I reached out before, but now they're contacting me. But if the position is not what I want, I'm not gonna say, oh, I want to do interview. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna waste their time. I'm not gonna waste my time. So yeah, you know what you want, you know like what company you want to do, and now it's turn to know about yourself. So these are the skill set that normally use for the different position that I mentioned. Uh, I think I kind of talk about it based on the position already, so I'm just gonna skip this one. You'll get the slides and you can read it through it. So resume, this is important. Five or six, five information required with some additional info: contact information, summary, education, experience, skills, and additional info. So additional info can be anything from community involvement, hobbies, projects, volunteer experience, publication, or anything that you want to put in there that will make you shine. This is literally your, like the spotlight. This is where you put all the good stuff in it. So just some, tips on the resume. Keep it short, 2 pages max, concise and simple. Tailor the resume towards the job description. So add some keywords that is coming from the job description to pass the HR filter. Add data to your story. So like I help, for example, I help to build this particular app, and this is actually saving us 25% in terms of like costs. Um, Focus on you, which is what you're doing in a particular role, not what the team doing, what the company is doing. Uh, Include your LinkedIn, GitHub, your blog posts, research website, if you have one. Maximize the white space, so but you still leave some for sectioning, so you can differentiate. This is the like summary. This is the education. Use It's just, I think everybody just keep telling this. Just use professional email, not the like I don't even remember my non-professional email, but yeah, you get the idea. uh it's always good to keep a pasteable information ready to use. For example, your experience, you'll have like bullet dots of like what you're doing, so you might have it in the txt file, and when you're applying to the website, you can just copy and paste that instead of typing it, or like copying from pdf, because sometimes pdf not really doing a great job in copy pasting. And lastly, most important thing, at least you have to have someone reviewing it. Could be your professor, career advisor from the, like from school, friend or family. It's fine. So yeah, so these are just some tips regarding resume. And I'm even gonna show my resume. So I'm just gonna take a quick sip. Yeah. So if you see here, let me put my red pen laser. So as you can see, I use actually, what's the website? Canva. So this is technically a PDF, but I build it in a sense like a PowerPoint. So it's a bunch of text boxes. So I have my name, my contact information. I even have like a tagline for myself. Uh, and you get summary, pretty much what you want to show in the form of like maybe 2 paragraph. I get my work experience all the way from here to the second pages. Um, I got my skills and technology experience. Uh, this the function of this is actually to catch those HR filter. So the job will have threat hunting experience, threat intelligence, and then Java programming, Yara, like a pattern matching, and then the system will catch it, and then my resume will be in the thing. And then I put my community activities, I get my certification courses, and I put more contact information down here, including my LinkedIn and GitHub, and then education and presentation. I think this is because I presented quite a bit, so I put it there because if you want to watch it, you just Google it and then you'll find it, right? Um, so that's pretty much the idea of the resume. And this resume, I would say it's worked pretty well for me. I sometimes change the color just to match the company color. I don't know if that plays anything, but yeah, it's just something easy to change, right? So the other thing about yourself is to level up. For the offense, there's a lot of things you can do for the defense also, but pretty much the idea is you join the community. I mentioned there's a lot of community like Red Team Village in the, what do you call it, like the DEF CON. There's like Discord channel, Slack channel, like a Telegram channel, Black Hills, InfoSec, Trusted Sec, Open Threat Resource. Uh, open thread research. So all this community are free. You can join it. Participate in conferences. Like for the attacking, you can go to certain CTF. NordSec is really great for offensive CTF. You get C3X. I think that's great for the defense. Do online CTF for the wires or hack me, hack the box for the defenders. You get the cyber defenders, blue team labs. Build your own lab, read books, build your own tool, getting familiar with different tools. Mimikatz. I don't know if I don't think you can have legally. You can get the Cobalt Strike, but if you able to, not judging, you can try to learn about Ghidra, debugger, decompiler, like memory forensics tools such as like Redline from FireEye/Mandiant. So you can use those tools to learn. For the AppSec, it's a little bit tricky. You might want to learn using different free courses on the container, cloud technology. For example, Azure actually offering free classes, and you can actually get certified with AZ900 for free. I actually took mine at Seneca, and they actually pay for everything. They get like help me with class. They set up the exams, and I passed. If you want to try lead code, go ahead. Our program is not programming, but if you want to go really good in programming, for sure, go ahead. Learn Git hygiene. It's really important. I'm not a programmer, I'm not a developer, but I know my Git. And it helps me a lot. People are like, oh, you know your Git. Can you do this? And then I'll do that. You learn different tools. You dig deeper in OWASP and CVEs if you want to learn more about AppSec related vulnerability stuff. Again, code even more. And maybe you need to just to familiar with the concept of the agility and SDLC. So for the job hunt, what normally happen for me, I prepare. So like I learn in my job. I already know what I want, what I don't want, and then you prepare the three components. You have the list of position you want. For example, for me, if I want to look for a job, I'll probably look for detection engineering, like security research, and then companies. Sometimes you like being working with small companies again, all the different things that we have talked about, and then you update it and review your resume. You have the matching skill set. You have learned. You have practice outside of school. So you prepare, and then from there you search for the job. I usually utilize LinkedIn for this. I set up like like alerts, so it will let me know when the job that match with my criteria coming in. Maybe you can do it now, right? Like your position is I think for the club starting next winter, or maybe May or something. So you can start it now, and then when you see the job open, it's open. I'm gonna apply right away because I already have all my things ready. And then be strategic. Don't just like MacGyver it or whatever. Keep Excel sheet or whatever tools that you have to keep information like position, company, closing date, when you apply, date, uh, job posting link, like skill set maybe, and then contact point, all this information. Maybe you can rank it also. But one thing about searching, use internal Sheridan job site as the main source because it's a really good place. And it's easier for you in terms of like to get your hours counted properly, etc. So yeah, as I mentioned, I use LinkedIn, and these are not my job searches. These are recommended for me. So let the algorithm do the job, let the machine learning do the job. But for doing this, you need multiple job alert. Maybe you need some time for this to load. So I get all the position that I am probably gonna apply if I'm looking for a job. And then you can actually save it using this ribbon here, and it will save it to your own list. So yeah, and then when you're applying, so make sure you update the Excel tracker, and then apply to only company that you want to work. Don't waste people time, or even like at least you want to interview it. Maybe like this company is really hard. I probably gonna fail during the interview, but this is a good opportunity for me to learn what type of question a great company asks, right? And then you get those information, you take a note, and then you bring it home, and then you answer it. The next time you interview for this company, you kind of know what's going on in there. Maybe you can even excel it for different companies already. As I mentioned, the paceable information, for the online application, I think it's great to have tailor the resume as needed. If they ask for a cover letter, provide a cover letter. Sometimes they call it letter of motivation also. Ask for reference if you know someone inside, and don't be like a person like, oh, I saw a person work on, like for example, Mandian. I connect with him. I ask him to reference. Don't do that. Build the connection first. Maybe you want to, example, you want to work with EY, and then you talk to me. You talk about the projects that you do. You show some stuff. I saw you present it in, maybe in this forum, and I see, oh, this guy is probably a great fit for the company. And then when you're applying for the job, I will be gladly refer you to whatever position you apply. So it's kind of something like that. So make sure you build a connection first. While you're waiting for the application, learn skills, more skills. Take that, like free training that is available, free certification. Update your CV when you learn something new. Practice interview. This is always great thing to do. Do it with friends, family, mentor, career advisor. You can do like a role play. Okay, I'll be the interviewer. You'll be the person interviewing. Check for the commonly asked question. And then lastly, just have fun. Don't stress it out. It's just a job. It's just one job. The most importantly, there'll be more jobs coming, and yeah, you'll be doing fine in the end. So if you get the job, if you get the interview, response to the interview first. Say like, oh yeah, I would like to schedule this interview on this date. Make sure for the call, let the call office know because they need to send some, like letters, official stuff. Schedule time that works for you. If you are going back to in person, make sure to account traveling time because there's one time I'm in Oakville, I need to interview in Richmond Hill, and that takes 2 hours using transit. And yeah, maybe make sure you appoint that. And I'm glad for me, I took a whole day off, so that's fine with me. Uh, yeah, you interact with the recruiter, the one that send you, like interview offer, and then ask question like, what is the process gonna be? Is there anything I need to prepare, etc. Talk to the people in the company maybe, and then do more practice interview because it never hurts. If you fail, if you didn't get a call, it's okay. Like take this as a learning opportunity, even if you know that you're gonna fail. Yeah, just take notes of the questions. If you think you don't answer it correctly, find the right answer. Don't be sad. Move on to the next application. You don't have time to, just be sad. Yeah. And then interview, yeah, let's talk about some interview topics. So common interview steps, I usually find 5 different steps. So the first one will be introduction call. I think there was someone asking on the career advice, what's gonna be on this introduction call. So it's normally HR or recruiter, they will call you. They pretty much want to verify your resume, what information you have in it. Is it really, really, like valid, and just to see if they're a perfect fit or if you think the company is a perfect fit for you. So interview, like getting a job, it's a two ways. The company need to be, like fit for you, and you have to be fit for the company also. And then we get the technical interview. So this is where you're gonna get grilled. So make sure you learn whatever you put in your resume. Never lies. I think that's the most important thing. So it could range from 1 to 5 interviews. Could be coding, could be explaining in the, like whiteboard or like blackboard or over the, like screen on online. The next one will be after we pass that, and then the people say, okay, this is probably a good candidate. They will go to the hiring manager interview. So this is where the hiring manager will see, is this guy gonna fit perfectly with the team, or is he gonna mess up the whole, like synergy of the team. You can ask them about, like role expectation. Even this is where you can start even asking about salary and such. And then after that, after you usually the fourth and the fifth can be switched. So, but I'm gonna put the executive interview first. So you'll have even higher hierarchy position, meeting you. This is more like introducing the company, the culture, and then you can ask question about, yeah, the company, like how's the culture in this company? What do you think this company will do in the next 5 years? What is the goal of the company? Anything related to the company in general. So not only the security, maybe, like other stuff. And then lastly, we'll get job offer review. These days they do it, so pretty much to help you understand what's in the contract. They will explain like, oh, this is your health benefits, this is how many uh, vacation days you have, etc. And then yeah, this is where you ask question about the contracts because it's the best thing. But of course, you can email them later because you need to read the contracts first. But yeah, so these are the common steps. And combining those steps, I'm seeing a pattern. I would say there's four out there from my observation. So we get the interview that is just formality, as I mentioned, from connections and networking. So they just pretty much call you to the office. You pretty much chat, uh, and then maybe the person want to learn more about the company, they can do it. And then they pretty much already get the job. And then we get the regular one, which is pretty much the flow that I showed before. And then we get the technical heavy. Uh, this is where the technical is gonna, like be really long, multiple ways of just technicals. So you can do like verbal, just asking question back and forth, and then they're gonna ask you to do hands-on stuff. Okay, you might want to do code. You might want to use certain tools to do maybe investigation. Maybe they're gonna bring you to the sandbox and do malware analysis. Maybe they're gonna give you access to like an environment, a VM, do pen tests on the, maybe it's as simple as a blackboard, you're expanding concept, but there's going to be a lot of technicalities, and normally the companies that doing this are great companies because they have like brilliant minds. So yeah, so we make sure you prepare on your like the technicality side. And then we get the classic FANG, so Facebook, Apple, Amazon, blah blah blah. So you will get a call from a recruiter, and then they will link you with another recruiter, and then they'll set up the introduction meeting with the hiring manager just to see if you're the perfect fit for the team. And then this is after that the real interview begin. You get like one full day at least, a lot of people to meet, a lot of meetings. You'll be tired, of course. I will touch different aspect, but this is a great learning opportunity. Sometimes when it's in person, they'll fly you, they'll pay for everything because they are like fan. Uh, and then just a little bit more, just tips and tricks on the interview. Use the star. Why you use star? Because you kind of capture every single thing that is important in the presentation. Uh, especially for behavior question. Practice common behavior and technical questions. Search for those questions ahead. Make sure you articulate your answer correctly. Like you speak to, I don't know, to the void, to the mirror, like, hey, my biggest weakness is blah 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 blah, because it's different when you're thinking it in your mind and to speak it. Um, Prepare some specific scenario. For example, like project that went well, when you have problem with teammates, you always ask question after interview. It's a good sign that you are paying attention, that you want to do more in these steps. So these are some of my favorite questions. I always ask day-to-day responsibility of a particular position. Get ready even for like a Zoom call. Dress properly, maybe not in a suit and ties, maybe like just a nice Apollo, but not your pajamas. Do your research in the company. On the interviewer also arrive early, 15 minutes normally for in-person meeting and 5 minutes in the Zoom meeting. Stay calm and focus. Maintain eye contact. Avoid looking away from the camera. Pay attention. If you don't understand something, ask them to repeat or to rephrase. And I think it's a good thing to just stay quiet instead of using or like other feeling words. Integrity. This is the most important part. One thing I don't like when I interview someone is when they lie or when they just spitting nothing into they try to answer nothing. And yeah, I had one experience I want to share. I know these guys, so the resume is really great, it takes everything that we want, but when these guys speak, nothing makes sense, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to ask any more questions. And it's the most awkward interview because I know when I ask the question, this guy's gonna lie and it's gonna answer whatever, and I don't care anymore. So you don't want to do that during your interview. You don't want to lie. And you get, like you get banners, not cutting off people when they're speaking, don't badmouth your previous employee, like respecting everyone you meet in the on-site or like during the interview. Even everyone from maybe the front desk, like the security guard, just be respectful. And then yeah, don't zoning out. Please smile when you can. Not too much, just enough. And I personally still do send thank you note. Sometimes people say, "Oh, you're so desperate." No, it's just me thanking them. Like outside of the circumstance of the interview, for them to taking the time to do that. And then yeah, I'll have some outro. This is just some notes or like references, resources. So for the interview resources, I have tech behavior question. This is a really good a list. I actually never use it, but I'm probably gonna use it soon. Um, InfoSec technical question. These two are mainly AppSec, but these days, if you know AppSec, you pretty much know everything. X for pancakes again. There's a series on YouTube by Black Hills InfoSec. It's total of like 10, 12 hours, just how to do job hunting, which is really great. And then we get Daniel Messler, sites, career blog, and the 60 technical question by Daniel Messler, which is like one of the guy in InfoSec for this type of stuff. Newcomer conferences, if you want to go to conferences, this is already passed, but pay attention for the next one. Pancakes Cone by Hacks for Pancakes, Leslie Carhart. There's a B-sides proving ground. So if you do some research, something cool, and you want to present, and you want to present it in Las Vegas, this is probably the place you want to go. Um, yeah, as a starter, we get starting up guide as a new students. Of course, the wonderful world of information security, a really great presentation. Awesome infosec. So if you want to learn more things in infosec, offensive, defensive, check this GitHub. There's Twitter, there's a YouTube channel, and there's more sites. Local conferences, we get Sector, recently happened. I presented there, by the way. We got TAS. This happen every third week, or sorry, third Wednesday of the month. We get B-sides, I think coming soon or already happened. We get Hackfest, NorthSec in Quebec province, Hackfest in Quebec City, NorthSec in Montreal. Great CTF, both of them. We get OWASP Toronto. One is coming pretty soon or already happened, but it's a really great topic. I have to. Hopefully, there's a recording of it. And yeah, pretty much it's a Q&A time if there's still time. I don't know. I think I'm doing great on time, maybe.
Yeah, we definitely have time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna look in the stream questions just in case there's something.
Yeah, for anyone who's listening, feel free to open your mic and ask the question if that's okay with you, Tas.
Yes, of course. I like people.
I had a generic question for you.
Mhm.
So, as students, sometimes it's, some intimidating to reach out to a professional who's been working in the industry. I know networking is something that, everybody talks about to do.
Yeah.
What's your sort of take on how to make that interaction a little bit easier for somebody who's, approaching somebody who's more experienced than they are?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing you want to do is start approaching them, be respectful, say hi, like let them know your intention. I see you're doing cool stuff, you know a lot more about this. Is it okay? Like having some conversation, some question. It's just letting them know that that's what you want, right? And if they say like no, well, I guess that's just a person. But most of the time in this community, we get a great community in the infosec. They'll say yes. It might take some time to response, but yeah. But I think the best way to do it, like offer in person, or hopefully soon. Like I think the best one will be TAS. There's a lot of people there, and normally like for certain people go in like groups, so together, but it's less intimidating to approach people. And yeah, just having conversation, being genuine. I think that's are some of the tips that I can give on that.
Awesome. I also have another question. I know a lot of job postings are on external forums or third-party forums like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Uh, is there a difference between applying through those sort of platforms and directly applying to the company itself?
For me, I think I'll always apply from the company itself first. Uh, Different story with recruiters, right? So because sometimes they don't provide you with the, like the company names. But if you have a recruiters with some position they offer, that's fine. That's completely fine. Uh, there's a function in LinkedIn like easily apply. I clicked it sometimes, and I don't think it's great. So I sometimes even apply it again. So in that sense, like I still apply to the site. So I think it's always good to use the site because for the company itself, I think that's what they intend to use. Although there's technology that these days that help, but yeah, that's just my perspective because that's their website. That's like those websites, not even theirs. They're like Taleo or like whatever the third party vendors for HR, right? But still, and they're painful. All of them are painful. So that's why sometimes you want to have that copy and pasting ready whenever you have it.
Awesome, thank you.
I have a question. So, one of your slides that you mentioned about reasons to work for a company, and you gave like a lot of good reasons there. But it seems like a lot of things that you only find out when you're further into the process or actually worked at the company for quite a while. Do you have any tips about um, getting that type of information about a company and reasons why you
Uh,
should work for them before you actually even apply to them, for example?
Check their like information pages. This information will be there most of the time, maybe not the growth and such. For the growth stuff, you definitely need to talk to the hiring manager, so that's probably like in the next level. Maybe you can talk to the even the recruiters should have some knowledge to that. uh, and but the rest of it, that first phone call that you have, you don't need anything to have that phone call. Just make sure your resume is, like true. Uh, they will have all this information there. Maybe yeah, they even if you ask that, I think they will share you maybe their like a brochure on their like benefits and such. So yeah, like it just ask question. That's the reason why they have that particular call, introduction call. Maybe like this particular company doesn't do RSP and that's like a complete turn off to you. That's where you end the conversation. So that's just like yeah, it's there for a reason, the introduction call, right? And you will get these answers from that particular call most of the time.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else with questions? Feel free to ask. I believe, Kevin, if you're still there, you had a question earlier with regards to sort of sourcing things to study for when you're applying. Yeah, I don't know if you want to elaborate on it. I guess he's not there. But essentially, his question was: there's so many resources to, further your knowledge,
Yeah.
and all job sort of, outlines what the requirements are. Any tips with regards to improving your skill set when it comes to applying to a particular role?
Especially for student, I think know where to find it. And I provide like this thing they call it like awesome infosec, whatever. The beauty of that, even every single one of the sub infosec, uh, like this part here, sub infosec uh, topic, they will have their own awesome. So if you want to learn, I can actually bring the example. I'm gonna pull up my um, just go to GitHub, right? And then awesome. Maybe you want to learn Pentest. There you go. So you get awesome pen tests, and yeah, well, you can just actually check how many stars do they have. 15K. That's a lot. So this is pretty good. You get all these tools, all these books. Go ahead, do that. All the conferences. This is definitely more than I know. Yeah, go check this out if you want to learn more about like analysis, exploit development, and then they have everything. Um, Awesome, maybe AppSec, and then there you go. So I personally use Awesome like a lot because they're awesome. Yeah. So yeah, that's mainly my source. And then my Discord is just a bunch of channels of InfoSec, different conferences. I'm actually showing my Discord now. Um, yeah, like conferences. This is the open thread resource, sorry, open thread research, and you can ask question. You can ask question to Microsoft people like, "Hey, is there tools to do simulation on Microsoft?" You literally talk to the vendor, but this is on the base of like friendliness, like community. So that's the best way to learn, I would say.
Cool, thank you. One last one. I guess I have two, but one is more related to the topic and one is outside of the
Yeah.
topic. Any advice for people or students specifically who don't necessarily know what they want to do? When you're in school, you sort of learn all of these topics. However, sometimes when you enter the industry, it might be completely different from what you envisioned. Um, so, any advice from that perspective?
Yeah. I think you just need to, I would say, soak yourself more to the industry. Uh, Read more. Just even from the news that your team reading, you can learn a lot of new stuff on InfoSec there. And yeah, just I think it's just a matter of time you'll find something that you want to do, or something that you don't want to do. Take time sometimes, but if you start doing it from the first year, if you start doing it even from the second year, you'll know. You'll definitely do better than me. And yeah, in this field, if you have the willingness to do something, the resources out there, the people is out there to help you. So don't be worried about anything. Yeah, it's just try to get more exposure to uh, I would say the community first, and then just the information. Uh, yeah, just be out there, pay attention to what's going on. You will find something eventually. And if you don't find something, maybe this is not the field that you want to be in, right? And then that's a different conversation. Are you going to be happy doing doing infosec in
Yeah.
general? Yeah,
It's a very
it's
real
not.
answer.
Yeah, it's not a wrong answer if you say like, oh, I don't want to do this. A lot of people doing that. Like 50% of people dropped out in the first year. So are they in the fault? I don't think so. It's just not what they want.
And as I said, my last question, it's not really related to job hunting. I just noticed one of the slides, I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
You talked about phishing, and it's sort of the most common vector that you sort of see attackers have. Why do you think it's such a popular attack mechanism?
Because it's it's cheap. It's easy to make. You spin up a server, SMTP server, you send it. A lot of email got compromised. They sell credentials out there, so you can actually send it from legitimate vendor to different companies. A lot of things that you can do with the payload. I think the recent one, which is like the I don't know, the active thing or like something else. Of course, you get macros. Uh, People use it every day, right? That's also the biggest factor. Like the training is there, but people still clicking it. Like the reason I don't get flagged by the training, like the phishing training, because I barely open my emails. So yeah, so it's just there, easy. People using it, uh, and it's human. Like there's a lot of tricks that you can play against human. Like I don't know. Your mind is amazing. Humans' mind is amazing, but sometimes they just like meh. So yeah, I think that's a combination of all of that.
Yeah, it's probably like an easy way to implement the whole social engineering aspect of things.
Yeah. You did mention Canva. I'm just gonna show you real quick my templates or like my design. So yeah, it's just like that. And as I mentioned, it's just a bunch of text boxes. You fill it. So like that. It's pretty neat. But sometimes they don't accept PDF, so they accept, like your Microsoft Word documents. I have my own version of that also. Depends. So I always pay attention what you can upload, what you cannot upload. But yeah.
Well, thank you, Taz, for giving the talk tonight. If anybody has any questions, can they reach out to you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Chat me on, I don't know, like career advice, personal chat, stream question. I don't mind. Just tag me. Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks to everybody for joining us tonight. I think we're gonna call it a night. If you want to stick around for games, so we will maybe reconvene at around 9:30. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay. Take care.